We saw an instant classic to start the Western Conference Finals last night, and as fun as it was, it might be a chilling reminder of just how far the Suns are away from competing in the West. We'll talk about that after this. What's up? What's happening? Welcome into the PHNX Suns show. It's Tuesday afternoon. I'm Gil. We got the Freckle Mama behind the Mac. We got Steven to my far right, Espo right next to me, and Eric to my left. Gentlemen, how are we doing on this fine Tuesday, May 19th?
I feel like I'm still shaking from Western Conference Finals Game 1. That might be the best basketball game I've seen in quite some time, but I'm feeling good. Appreciate Sandman, the real D-Class. What's up, Dad? Everybody in the chat. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for being here today.
I'm feeling disgusting.
Ooh.
That's good.
I always love that.
Just because I have actually enjoyed watching the Spurs, and I don't know what to do with that. So.
It's a new era, man. Steven, how you feeling, man?
I'm chilling. That was a good game last night, wasn't it?
I might be underselling it a little bit. It was good. The thing is, can we get like 7 of those? And I'm sure we'll get into whether or not we'll see 7 of those games, but we can just get into it. A double overtime classic. We saw the guys step up. We saw Victor Wembanyama, 41 points, 24 rebounds, 3 blocks, 3 assists, and a steal in his first ever Western Conference Finals game at 22 years old. And we saw the Spurs, as said in the chat, they showed that OKC can bleed a little bit. Their first loss of this playoff, this postseason. I mean, Eric, what can you even say about this game that unfolded last night?
We watched not just one of the best games, I think, in NBA playoff history, double overtime, conference finals, Game 1. OKC, their first loss of the entire playoffs in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. We saw one of the best individual games. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets his MVP at the beginning of the game, and Wemby walks off of of Shai's home court saying, "I'm the best in the world." It really felt like that moment for Wemby, where he went out there and he had only one thing on his mind.
You called it, by the way.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll give you credit.
I did yesterday say that they would win Game 1 and Wemby would have a moment, but I don't even think I could have predicted just how good Wemby was, especially against this great defense. 2 7-footers deployed by OKC. Obviously, the Chet and Wemby beef came to full display here with Wemby completely dominating him. It was one of those games that you watched and you were like halfway through and you're just like, wow, this is just going to be incredible. And then it got better and better and better. And then one of the single most audacious shots I've ever seen in my entire life. Maybe you could compare it to the Steph shot because it's the same spot and kind of the same situation. But like, this is Western Conference Finals Game 1. And also that's Steph Curry taking that shot versus a 7'5" demigod. Like, it genuinely unfathomable levels of basketball being played last night in Game 1 of the conference finals.
Steven is a very much an enjoyer of basketball and the game, all levels. I feel like last night's game was one of those things where, like, if somebody says, why do y'all like this sport so much? Like, show me something. Show me your best example of that. I feel like last night fits the bill.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of modern stuff going on the court. I think the biggest thing is the possession game. Fans made fun of Jordan Knott for speaking so intensely about it all season. And you look at what's happening on this stage, San Antonio dominated the possession game last night to the extent where they had 21 turnovers, and it didn't even feel like it when you look at how they won the possession game. They also dictated the terms of the flow of the game because of how many fouls they drew. That's too much to deal with if you don't have the possession game and the free throw differential is working against you. Same thing that worked against the Suns against Oklahoma City in the first round more often than not worked against Oklahoma City against San Antonio in Game 1. Jalen Williams, though, had a pretty good game, first game back. But that shot he took in the fourth quarter, or rather it was overtime, The shot he took in the fourth quarter, or third overtime, where Shai had it rolling. He took a shot with, it was less than 10 seconds on the clock, so I get the urgency to want to. But you kind of want to get it back to the guy with the hot hand, especially because the shot that he took is the one that led to Wemby taking a shot that looked a lot like Steph Curry from a handful of years ago. Marginal moments. You might think, okay, that's not a bad shot. J-Dub finished with like 23, had a solid scoring game. Efficiency was good. But the timing of that shot being taken and what it ultimately led to versus if Shea had it and what type of shot that typically would entail for their transition defense, make or miss, that's the difference in the game right there for me. I know there's a lot of other stuff. They were losing the possession game. They had a chance to potentially put the game out of reach going up 5 or 6 with less than a minute left in that first overtime session.
What's crazy to me is they're so vastly different players, but Shaq and Wemby have a very similar dominance that they can have in the paint. Like, nobody could stop Wemby last night. When he hit 2 feet in the paint, it was a dunk. Like, there was just no answer to that, regardless of who they matched up with him. And when he is in one of those modes, it is unbelievable to watch and what he's able to do. And then you add in his ability to space it like he did on that 3, and you go, oh, okay, well, this is why they call this guy the alien. He's otherworldly. There's no real easy answer to what he does. But the game in general, it was defense and it was threes. That was a big part of it. And then dunks. Like, I don't remember a game recently with this many emphatic dunks. And it reminded me a lot of those back and forths in the 90s where you got a lot of dunks. You got obviously less threes, but there was quality defense. And it was just a lot of fun to watch. And then, it's nice to have NBC back doing those bigger games like a Western Conference Finals.
Well, and I think the thing with Wemby, and we'll obviously, talk about, Stephon Castle with 11 assists and Dillon Harper with an incredible game starting for De'Aaron
7
Fox, who was
steals.
a late scratch. I mean, yeah, Dillon Harper had a stat line I don't think was been done since Larry Bird, like in the playoffs.
He's a rookie.
Not just as a rookie, but just in the playoffs. The thing with Wemby, 24 rebounds, 41 points, the threes, the blocks. I think the scariest thing is that you've seen him get better as this year's gone on and kind of progress, because you think back to the first game against the Suns when, look, man, the Suns had him in a box. That's probably one of the worst games of his entire career. He got pushed around. They were really physical with him. They put smaller guys on him, whether it was Royce O'Neal or it was Ryan Dunn, and they were able to, just get him out of his rhythm. And it felt like going up against, let's say it, the best defense in the league in Oklahoma City, there was no getting him out of anything. His spots, his rhythm, his confidence, his composure, like we talked about yesterday, and they were trying to get to his composure. There was a play, I think it was SGA tied up with Wemby, and people were like, that elbow was speaking to him like the Green Goblin, because he kind of looked back. It was the same way, and Naz Reid was kind of right behind him, and again, he was completely in control of everything. It is just scary how much better I think he's just gotten over this season. And now as the playoffs go on, it's is he just going to keep on getting better and better and better? Is there another step for him? Is also completely on the table going forward, not just in this playoffs, but obviously the rest of his career, because he's 14 years old. This is insane.
Thinking about Wemby and the conversation, I'm curious what both of you think about. There's so much to talk about the individual rivalry with him and Chet, and that goes back to when they were teenagers, and straight up, Chet Holmgren was bad in this game. 2 of 7 from the field, 8 points, 8 boards, and just a lot of moments in where you expect more of him just being a Defensive Player of the Year finalist. And some people take an issue with the fact that he wasn't matched up with Wemby. Now, we saw why on that block he had that forced overtime, because he could be in help and do that. But do you think that something that we'll see moving forward is Chet take more of that assignment one-on-one, or would that further throw the Thunder away from what they need to be doing?
I don't know. After looking that bad, I'm not sure I want the one-on-one matchup. I love that the internet turned Chet into every scrawny, wimpy white guy from a 2000s movie as possible because of how bad he played, and they photoshopped that. But I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see if they decide to go the straight matchup, Chet versus Wemby. But I don't know that that's going to stop Wemby in any way, shape, or form.
The thing is, you want to keep size around the basket. You get caught up in the other things, but you want to have your size at the basket because that's where Wemby wants to get more often than not. But Chet was he didn't have it. That's a different animal and beast that he's going up against than Wemby, and he's also someone that has the mental and competitive advantage against him for as long as we've been able to publicly see it on the NBA stage. But it goes to Gil's point, past before we were all privy to watching these games happen in real time. So that's something they got to figure out, but it's bigger than Chet for me because guess who only played 12 minutes for OKC? Isaiah Hartenstein. You can't have your starting five just not be in the rotation for you on this stage against that guy, because Chet doesn't have enough to anchor the defense solely by himself. That's partly why he wasn't supposed to be the defensive player of the year, was rightfully in the finalists in the top 3, but that was Wemby's. And Chet is just a little different with him, the ways that he impacts the game. It's not just the traditional rim protection sense. It's also his ability to go out and switch on the perimeter and all of those things. But I think Hartenstein not being in the rotation in the second half in particular, when you factor in that they also played overtime too, double overtime, that's not going to get it done for OKC in this series. And then past that, their guards have to be better with dealing with San Antonio's guards. That's a feisty group, and that was without that particular faction's leader in De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, this was such a fascinating game in general. Like, if I told you going into the series that OKC would get a game from Alex Caruso, where he had 31 points out of 11 of 19 shooting from the field and shot 8 of 14 from deep. Oh, also 2 steals, 2 blocks, by the way, because he is Alex Caruso. At the end of the day, you would think there's no way that they lose that game. Right now, Shea had 24 and 12, which is okay, but obviously San Antonio's defense, which we've seen them switch on this entire playoffs, did a really good job of making him a little bit more uncomfortable. He missed some shots that he normally would not have missed as well. And so you kind of look forward as like, what does OKC do besides try to stop Wemby? Because it's also like, what are you going to do internally? You clearly expect a little bit better, more efficient night from Shea on the scoring side of things. AJ Mitchell with just 4 points off the bench and only 5 shots too. Now, not all of them are the most well-received shots at the best times. But
the three he took in transition was the one that stuck. They were up 1. I think it was in overtime, and they had a chance to maybe get a good possession, but that was one stand.
But he needs to shoot the ball more than 5 times.
For sure.
Right? Especially if, I'm going to say Shea didn't have it like he normally would have in that night. Chet isn't going to be scoring at a high level. Like usually, like he can get up maybe sometimes to the high teens, 20s. Like Jalen Williams, 26 points. I think that's about what you're going to be able to get from him as well. Like, you have to take those 31 points from Alex Caruso, and you probably have to bargain for him giving you like 8 to 12 maybe per game going forward in the series, and that might even be on the high end. Where do those other 20 points come from for them? Yeah, you can focus on the defense all you want, but if you had a more normal offensive performance from the two guys that were your main offensive engines against the Lakers and Shea and an AJ Mitchell, then this is a completely different game.
Oh, I mean, OKC was right there. I mean, they almost won in regulation. They almost won in overtime, and I don't think anybody would argue that this was their best played game. I mean, you could argue that this was almost perfect Spurs basketball that they played last night, and it still took everything they had to win that game. It took an otherworldly performance from Wemby to win that game. Man, I'm overusing that word today, but it took that kind of Herculean effort. They're going to have to play at the top of their game to take this from OKC. I don't think you can count the Thunder out by any means just because of how good the Spurs looked in Game 1.
And that's the final thought that I had as far as that goes. This is a team in Oklahoma City that feels very inevitable, but you have Victor Wembanyama, who is just as inevitable, if not more inevitable than this Thunder team is. But they've been here before. They lost a Game 1 last year to the Nuggets in kind of devastating fashion and bounced back in that series and then went back and forth. And I can see this series going in that way. Now, we've talked about this through the lens of this series itself, but this is also a team that the Suns played in the Thunder in the first round of this series. And what does this mean about the Suns and where they stand in the Western Conference? Well, we'll talk about that after our first break.
We all know the number by now, 602-783-8841. That's 602-783-8841. And of course, that is the number to the husband and wife law team. That's the number to Mark and Alexis Breyer's experienced and specialized team with 100 combined years of trial experience. And of course, nobody can guarantee the outcome of a legal case. However, there are promises that they're willing to make you and all their clients when it comes to your relationship with them, like a promise that you can cancel your fee agreement at any time for any reason, a promise you'll receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive for their fee, even if they have to reduce their attorney's fee to do so. And they promise that you may speak with one of their lawyers as often as you choose about anything that you'd like to discuss. They're also upfront and honest with you about every strength and weakness of your case so that you can make the most informed decisions. And if you've had a serious injury, make the most informed decision first. Call the husband and wife law team at 602-783-8841 or visit their website, the link in our show notes, and tell them that PHNX sent you.
Breaking news.
Wee-oo.
You guys know already, but you don't know. I am now an owner of a car. And the first place I went in my new car to fill my car up was Circle K. And as an Inner Circle member, on my first 5 fill-ups, I'm saving 25 cents a gallon, which makes me feel like I made the right decision by being an Inner Circle member. And it's not just that. Also a reminder, my car's not here yet. You can be an Inner Circle member wherever you're watching.
He's just been filling gas cans in preparation.
I got gas in North Carolina. I'm going to get gas in Arizona here as an Inner Circle member as well. And I can keep saving money because if I go and buy 3 Coca-Cola products with 20 ounces, I can save 25 cents a gallon. I know you're taking that.
I did that this morning.
So I might do that next week once I actually have my car to do it with. So be an Inner Circle member, sign up, enter your phone number. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You can start saving money. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details. You can save money like me, like Espo, SPG, like Eric.
I'm stopping there on the way home.
See, look at that. Welcome back to the PHNX Suns show, talking about the Western Conference Finals and the state of the Western Conference through the lens of the Phoenix Suns. And one thing I want to say about the state of the Western Conference, these numbers right here, 20, 21, 22, 24, 25.
The ages of the Spurs starting lineup?
Yes, it is the youngest starting lineup in the all-time history of the conference finals. Eastern, Western, whatever. And obviously the head of the snake is Victor Wembanyama, who is freshly 22 years old. And when I say that, I talk about the fact that when you look at the Thunder, the team and the only guy in their rotation that really plays and is older than Devin Booker is Alex Caruso, 31 years old. Everybody else now, Kenrich Williams is an older guy, but he's 31. He's older than Devin Booker, but he doesn't really play much. So these are two teams that conceivably will be toward the top of the Western Conference for the foreseeable future, given how young they are and the fact that the only thing that's going to get in the way of their success based on this is health and financial things, having to pay guys, but there are ways out of it, as we've learned with both of these franchises. Now, so I have to say, and I mentioned Devin Booker already, and we'll talk a lot about him today, but he'll be 30 next season. And we talk so much about windows and windows to compete. When you have a team like the Suns, whose best player and franchise player is 30 years old, who the owner said they're going to win a championship with this guy, how do you become a championship caliber team when you saw what we just saw standing out there? Does that make it more important to make that big swing, or do you really lean into the internal development with the two guys you have? Like, can they get good enough to compete with the teams that we saw last night?
Well, I think one of the things you saw was the depth and how important that is for both teams. It's not just two guys getting it done on the floor and some back and forth between two superstars. It's a full team effort. It's the defense. It's the turnovers. It's all these things combined that makes these teams so good. And I think the going all in on a move to try to compete directly right now and think that that'll do it. If you sacrifice your depth to do it, you're not gonna be in a spot to compete with these teams. I think right now the path that they're going down is the one that they should stay on, at least for the time being, because you've got youth that you hope can develop into bigger parts of this. You also have depth, and you have that defense, you have that rebound. You're trying to build something in the same kind of mindset of what OKC's done. And obviously the Spurs are young, but that's very much their mindset as well. I don't think a big swing will put you in a position that can actually change that right now.
I don't think this means you have to make a big swing. Like, you don't have to go now change your approach to trying to go get Giannis or somebody this offseason. I think getting Giannis would help, but I digress.
Yeah, I think so.
I just don't think that you could be scared, though. Like, here's the thing that kind of makes me upset.
Scared of these teams or scared to make a move?
Just in general. Like, you have to do what you think is best to go try to win a championship. Like, you might think that that's developing your young guys for a couple more years as Devin Booker gets a little older. Maybe you bet on Kaman Malawach being the type of center that can maybe, try to slow down Victor Wembanyama and give you some of the things that Wemby can give you. The same thing with Rasheer Fleming. We saw both of them have good reps on Wemby late in the season this past year. Like, you can't be afraid to go try to win a championship just because the Thunder are good, just because the Spurs are good. Because one, championship windows never last as long as we think that they will, right? Whether it's your team or somebody else's team, everybody thinks like after Boston won their championship, everybody was going to that offseason saying, well, Boston's just going to be a runaway to go win a second one in a row. Guess what? That didn't happen. Same thing after Denver won their championship. People are like, this is the era of the Denver Nuggets. Now, they've still been good teams, but they haven't been making it to the finals and winning a bunch of rings. We actually haven't seen that since Golden State in the 2010s. So maybe OKC is a dynasty and they win 2 in a row. That's not really a dynasty. That's just a good team. Like you said, financial stuff, injury stuff. You can't be scared to go try to be the best that you can be, because maybe you do get into a bracket where they play each other around before you, or Wemby gets hurt, or Shea gets hurt, or maybe you hit on somebody in the draft that ends up being an incredible generational talent. Maybe it's Kaman, maybe it's somebody else. Who knows? I just don't think that you can now operate as like there are some people saying, well, Wemby is going to be in the West for however many other years. You know, the Thunder are still young, so trade Devin Booker for picks, go for a full rebuild, and don't even try to do anything for the next 5 years. I think that's stupid. I don't think that you should just go and crawl into a corner and let these two teams duke it out. Will you get to their level? Who knows? But nobody thought San Antonio would be doing this going into this year. Like, this is sports, except for Steven.
I'm just saying, there's a handful of people that said Wemby with shooting around him could potentially get him there. I think your overarching point makes sense to me for sure. I just don't know. I don't know why people feel like you have to tiptoe around getting better. Like, I'm seeing people say that they would not want to go get Giannis if the opportunity presented itself. And I just don't understand that part of the conversation about the Suns getting better. I know history looms over people's shoulders. Like, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to press that button again, but you have to get better. I don't know if there's a better route for the Suns to go and potentially be in that conversation as those two teams within the next 5 years if it's not coming from the external. The internal development matters a lot, and I think it's past just the young guys. I think if they're bringing back guys for the continuity purposes, those guys also have to get better. Grayson can be better handling the ball. Colin can add to his offensive approach in terms of not just the three-point shot, but making paint decisions, knocking down middies. Jalen can be better passing to bigs as well as passing to shooters out of pick and roll and off of his drives. Like, there's more to the internal development part than just the rookies themselves, but it's also going to have to take for another top-end piece. You look at the Spurs. They have a De'Aaron Fox, but they also have a Wemby. You look at Oklahoma City. They have Shea, but they also have Chet, and they have Jalen Williams. Like, there's like another guy with another guy. You can look at a couple of other guys that are on the Spurs right now that are better like number 3s and number 2s than what the Suns have to Devin Booker. You have to go and get someone that can match with all of that, in addition to just evolving your process and game flow.
I agree that you have to continue to get better. My question is, for a guy like Giannis, at what cost? Because if you gut it, then you're not going to be able to compete anyways, because now you've lost too much to have the depth. And that's this double-edged sword that you've got to try to balance out here is, if you go get that other big name, can you really have enough to go back and still compete at a depth level, because these teams are so deep? I agree you can't play scared or can't approach things scared in terms of it, but you also have to build in a smart way where it's not about the next 2 years, it's about the next 5, it's about the next 7. How are you building for that long-term success with these teams around as well?
And that's what I kind of think about when some of the deals we talked about. I know we talked about Ja, we talked about Zion. We have no idea if those guys are even going to be available and if they're in talks with the Suns. But I think that with respect to what we're seeing in basically everybody that's remaining, and just the way the NBA has always been, it is a star-driven league. And I think that's when it comes down to, do you do this trade? Are you comfortable with trading away somebody's all-star potential for somebody that we already know can be an all-star, an all-NBA player, an MVP, depending on the level of trade that you're talking about? And then you talk about sacrificing depth, which is equally important to not do with that, because we've seen it here. We've seen it with other teams. Depth gets gutted, you go for this big swing, and then everything else falls apart because there is no foundation. So I do think about the fact that a lot of times when we're having these conversations about hypotheticals or potentials, I say, hey, look, at their peak, if all goes well, who do you trust more? Who's a better basketball player? Because at the end of the day, do you just take that swing knowing that the best version of this guy is maybe an all-star, the best version of this guy is an all-NBA talent? You need the all-NBA talent to win a championship. If that's what it's championship or bust, to compete with these teams, you got to have more talent. And I think that's what the hang-up is, or the conversation I always think about. Now it's okay to just, let it pass and say, look, we'll let this team's run past and we can be fine. But I do recognize that, scary money don't make none. You have to risk something to win something.
Well, and it's not necessarily like you have to go make a move. And I feel like I've been pretty clear. Like, I'm not opposed to making a big move given the right circumstances. I don't know if you're going to find the right circumstances this summer. And I think the circumstances become a lot looser when it's Giannis involved. But look at the 4 conference finals teams. The 2 that we saw last night, their method was what? Not making big trades. Now, did they make some trades? Like, sure, taking advantage of bad franchises like the Kings and the Bulls for some respective guards, one that played last night, one that didn't. Like, yeah, you found a way to use your assets the best way, but like OKC was built because they moved on from an era where they tried to acquire a bunch of superstars when they traded Paul George and then moved on from Westbrook and moved on from Carmelo Anthony, right? And they actually didn't try to accelerate their timeline. The Spurs built through tanking and through getting high draft picks and getting lucky in the lottery, which is not exactly something you could try to recreate. But they didn't go press the button to try to sell out for Kevin Durant. They got De'Aaron Fox for what felt like pennies on the dollar. You look at the Knicks and the Cavs, those are 2 teams that have traded for a lot of talent and made a lot of big moves. So like you can argue that the 2 conferences have been built in different ways, but I think we all agree that we feel like the champion is coming out of the Western Conference. So you can do it a bunch of different ways. You just have to get lucky. Either lucky that you find another front office that's willing to deal a big-time player for you for what you feel like is good value, or lucky in the draft, right? Getting a lottery pick that jumps up, or getting somebody else's lottery pick that jumps up. Like, none of these teams were built without luck. And that's what you're going to need to get on their level. And maybe the Suns have had a little bit of that recently, but that doesn't mean that you can't put yourself in the position to get lucky. Like, luck doesn't just happen. You have to actively be progressing through things to be like, okay, taking advantage of the luck. Because you might win the lottery and then have a crap team and it doesn't matter. Like, there's 2 different ways to approach it. And if you're just like, oh, we'll let it come to us and we'll go crawl into a corner, like, you're not going to get anywhere from that.
I was gonna say there's luck, and there's also just maybe hiring a All-Star's dad as an assistant coach. That can. That's
true.
That's a way to go about it.
I mean,
as well.
that's making your own luck, right?
No, actually,
they traded for OG. They traded for Cat, and they traded for McHale.
Traded for Josh Hart.
Right, they traded for Josh Hart. Like the Knicks, they bought their team. It's not exactly a developed team. Like Mitchell Robinson's been there for a while.
He's their longest senior guy.
Right, he's been there for a long time. The Cavs, they traded for Donovan Mitchell, and they traded for James Harden, and they traded for Jared Allen. Like, they got Evan Mobley, and that was their high draft pick. So, like, there's multiple ways to do this. And I don't think anybody, would have expected a lot of times, like, these finals teams in the last couple of years, like Miami went to the finals. And I get it's the Eastern Conference, but, like, you never know about injuries. You never know about, like, in a 7-game series, you might get lucky, get a couple bounces your way. And we've seen the Suns team play both of the teams that are playing right now tough. Are they better than them? No. But is it like they're the Kings to their Thunder? No, like they're still a competitive team. So I feel like you can find ways to improve and to get closer to them. And I don't think you're going to leapfrog them next year, but maybe there is a way that you could position yourself, and maybe you get lucky with the new lottery odds and you find a top 10 pick that you hit on the same way that you hit on Devin Booker in the lottery however many years ago. Like, there's so many paths to get to where these 2 teams are. We can appreciate it. We can fear them, but you shouldn't run away from them.
That's what I'm curious.
It's not how you play basketball.
That's what I'm curious to you, because we all were alive in our time, but at different stages of watching the game.
This is, hey, you're the old man.
You were more conscious about what was going on right now. But I was going to ask you if this feels at all similar to 99 to 07 when it was the Lakers and Spurs going back and forth, and like the Mavs snuck in there one time, but it did kind of feel like for that 8-9 year period, it was just those 2 teams coming out of the Western Conference, and the Suns had solid teams at the time, but could never get over the hump because of the existence of those franchises.
Yeah, obviously built different ways and in a different time, but but I feel like the NBA's always been like that.
Yeah,
the 80s were Celtics, Lakers, then it was Bulls, Pistons, then it was Bulls, and Rockets. Like that's the NBA. The reality is you're always going to have teams that look like juggernauts, but the last 7 years, 8 years we haven't had a repeat champion. And so I think you're getting a little bit more competitive balance. But yeah, it did feel like you kind of knew at least one of the two teams you were penciling in for the finals back then and in the 90s. To your point, Eric, I think it's all about the preparation and the opportunity. When you put those together, that's what equals luck, as the old saying goes. And I think that's where the Suns can be strategic. They can prepare for situations that maybe they can add somebody and strike when the opportunity is the correct one. I don't think you go chasing right now just to chase. And if you feel Giannis is the right one, I guess go for that. But I think it's about being calculated in those moves and understand what you're trying to build short term and long term, and how do you approach that.
You already used 20% of the Devin Booker contract extension on gathering information. Like, this dwindling, like that clock. As soon as you put ink to paper on that extension, those C's have now been dropping down, and you got less and less and less. So I just feel like if that's the route that they want to go as far as trying to honor being the best that they can be within that 5-month term of window that they gave themselves, that 5 is now down to 4 as of 3.5 to 4 weeks ago when they lost in the first round. So you have to, whatever you're doing, if you're trusting your development and that something else will come your way, you better be really hoping and locked in with your faith that things strike in a chord the way in which is going to help you do that, because that clock is ticking. It's not waiting for anybody.
Yeah, I think that you have a couple things in place. You have your front office that you feel comfortable with. Now, is Brian Gregory a guy who had a really, really good offseason and some good signings in season, and that's just kind of a one-year wonder? I don't think so. I think he's going to be good, but he still needs to continue to prove it. Jordan Ott, I think you have your really good head coach, had some flaws. I'm sure he'll get better. So you've got those two things. Both of those franchises have a really, really great front office. Probably the two best front offices in the league. Definitely the Thunder, the Spurs. I don't know if your front office gets you the number 1 pick and then the number 4 pick and then the number 2 pick.
Depends on what they've been doing with the league office, I guess.
That's fair.
So.
But like, you have really good front offices, really good coaches, and that's kind of like your baseline. The difference is, like you said, Steven, both of those franchises were given a really long runway. Like, this is the first time the Spurs have been in the playoffs in 8 years? 9
several
years.
years.
The Thunder were one of the worst teams in the NBA for a long time because they didn't have a super max guy that was in his end of his 20s, early 30s. Like, you are in a little bit of a precarious situation where you want to replicate what they're doing, you want to do your own thing, and you also have a very short window to do it. Now, there is life beyond Devin Booker, but none of us want to talk about what you're going to do after Devin Booker's on the Suns or after this contract extension, because that's a long time away. So it's an uphill battle. Like, nobody thinks the Suns are in the best position to go compete for a championship. That doesn't mean that they can't find a way to try and get there, which I think they need to do.
I like what you said, Eric, and that's the main reason I asked you what I asked you, besides to kind of insinuate that you're older than all of us, is just that Suns team.
It's not an insinuation.
It's just letting everybody know. But that Suns team did have an opportunity to kind of break through with that, and things happened. But they were doing something that nobody else in the league was doing. And you talked about, do you try to beat these teams at their own game, or do you try to zig when they're zagging and do something different? But the key part is having your star in the middle, Devin Booker. And we'll talk about Devin Booker and his postseason performance after our next break.
Saving money is important, and sometimes it's hard to find new ways to save money nowadays. That's where APS comes in handy, because APS has multiple different ways for you to help manage your energy bill, including the rate plan options, which allow you to compare the different plans that you could be on, so you could choose the one that would cost you the least amount of money, and maybe you're already on the one that costs you the least amount of money. That's great. Or you have budget billing, which I would coin the PHNX preferred, because everybody here loves budget billing, where they average out your payment over the year, so you pay around the same amount every single month. Makes it a lot easier to save up for a new car, maybe a renovation to a house, maybe groceries, maybe gas, whatever it is. It's a lot easier to save when you don't have to guess about what your energy bill is going to be, especially in those summer months when usually those prices will skyrocket because you stay inside, you use more AC, TV, lights, everything like that, because it's 195 degrees outside. You can find all your options, I'm not kidding, Gil, to manage your bill at aps.com/let's talk. That's aps.com/let's talk.
Well, it's getting hotter outside, and the action in the NBA is getting hotter as well. Only 4 teams remaining, and the season's winding down, but there's never a better time to get in the action at Bet365 than right now, because you have the NBA winding down, you have the WNBA starting up, and MLB just getting into its groove. And if you're a new user, you can take advantage of the Bet10 win 200 program or get 200 program. Bet 10, get 200. New users get $200 in bonus bets. Thanks to this promo, all you have to do is sign up, make a $10 bet, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets from our friends at Bet365. Their generosity is why we consider them friends, because we love having generous friends.
I don't have a friend that give me $200.
Oh, Bet365 is not your friend?
There we go.
Well, based on your results this year, they probably aren't your friend. Oops, you too. But for those of you who can be more successful than maybe all of us were on Bet365, download the app and use code PHNX365. Bet365, where winning is everything. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 and up only. Must be physically located in Arizona. Terms and conditions apply. In-app only. Back here at the PHNX Suns Show. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on a Tuesday afternoon. And you can also join and hang out with the PHNX crew at our World Cup watch parties. Presented by Buchanan's, Casamigos, Don Julio, and Michelob Ultra.
All my actual friends right there.
There you go. Bet365 might be your friend. We'll have to talk about this after. Okay. There's numbers for that too. But we're doing watch parties all over the Valley for every USA and Mexico match throughout the World Cup. See, it gets going June 11th and June 12th. Visit gophnx.com/events for more details and to RSVP. Espo, you all right?
I need one of my friends right now.
I just got cooked real quick.
You've been an odd one. You got me a couple times today. I'm impressed. By the way, thank you, Eric, in the chat for saying you're old too. Thank you for being an elder.
I'm right there. I get called. If the only person gets called,
I'm 11 years older than you. Almost 12 years older than you. Knock it off.
We're in the same range if you let them tell it. So I'll be on your side as far as that goes. And Devin Booker's joining us. He'll be 30 here in a few months. He'll be 30 next season. And he was 29 his last year in his 20s. Wasn't the most memorable playoff run for him or postseason run when you talk about the play-in tournament as well, and it left more to be desired. Straightforward. And I guess we should just pull up our report card for Devin Booker and what he did this postseason. It's the beginning of a series that we'll have with some postseason grades for the guys on the Suns, and it rounds out to a C+. Me and you, we were, I guess, not bad grade.
Yeah, I mean, B minus.
B minus is fine. I graded on a little bit of a curve, but C+ for you, Espo and Steven. To what did he do or not do to not get a B?
I mean,
C's did degrees.
Well, C's and D's if you went to Arizona universities. But when you look at it, I think he was slightly above average, and not average as in any average player, but as in the standard he set for himself in the playoffs and in his career. He was good, not good enough, and I think that's why he sat at a C+. You saw flashes of what makes Devin Booker, but you never saw him kick it in that fifth gear and completely take over a game. And that's why I couldn't go any higher than a C+. And really was considering a straight C, but then I graded it on a bit of a curve considering the defense that they were up against.
Yeah, playing 21 points and 6 assists on average a game. In the playoffs, 21.3 points, 4.8 assists. Those arbitrary numbers without adding context suggest that if you're talking about a player that was an all-star this season, a player that is the biggest domino on his team, it suggests that either he has a 1B that's doing things to a certain extent to combat some of the things that he might be seeing intention-wise to get the team where they need to be, or it suggests that maybe you needed a little bit more from him to give yourself more of a chance, even in just the play-in games, let alone the playoffs themselves. For me, I almost gave him a C for his standard. To your point, his standard, you're not grading him the way you would everybody else. He's at a different cloth that he's come from. But I gave him a little bit higher than the C even because of one thing, he got to the free throw line a whole lot. And that was with great intention. He wasn't going past the integrity of the game to get calls as far as embellishing, but he was putting himself in position to where y'all can't guard me here and I'm more physical than you are allowed to be at these particular pockets. Here come the whistles. I think that matters a lot. I think in terms of his game management, he can do a lot more of that to put himself in that position. Have that influence of the whistle be in favor of the Suns more, and then his playmaking. The assist numbers are not loud, 4.8 in the playoffs, 6 through the play-in, but it's the plays that either led to shots that were great that weren't made, which there were a lot of those in both play-in games and the playoffs, or the shots that led from someone else making a pass after he made the pass. So he was really good. Still left some on the table for sure. And I think that's because of the standard that we've grown to give him as far as that goes.
I think no matter which way you slice it, you needed more from Devin Booker. No matter the context, no matter who they were playing, no matter why these things were happening, you needed more out of him. I gave him a B- knowing that at these moments, at times, in your playoffs, in your play-in, in these winner-go-home games, your superstars, your number one players need to be playing like an A at minimum. Like, this is the time for your stars to play great. So anything below that, I'm not going to say it's a failure, but it leaves some to be desired. I think Devin Booker deserves a lot of credit for defense this season, and I think in this series, he actually held up really well on the defensive end. And the playmaking was tough for a lot of reasons, but I don't think it was Devin Booker wasn't making the right reads. Devin Booker wasn't passing in the way that Devin Booker should. Now, OKC made it a lot harder on him and knew that they were going to put him in positions where he had to force some passes, but like Steven said, missed shots or swings and hockey assists and all that, I think brought his overall assist number down. The big conversation we always had was he needed to, put his foot on the gas a little bit more, take more shots. You can either agree with that or not agree with it. We all know that averaging around 20 points per game for a series is just not something that we should expect of Devin Booker. It has to be higher, and when he's been in the playoffs before, not only has it been higher, he's actually historically been a playoff riser. So these are things that when you start to factor that into the context of who they were playing, who was on his team, doing this without his starting center, which I think is a pretty big deal, doing this without Grayson Allen, which I think is a really big deal when it comes to gravity and the ability for an opposing team to put 2 or 3 guys on book. It's a lot harder when a guy who's shooting like 40% from deep on high volume is actually out there playing. Like, yeah, that would all help him, but at the end of the day, like, he still had to be better. I think some people are like out on Devin Booker because of the series, and I would definitely caution people for overreacting given all the circumstances we laid out, but I don't think anybody else walked away satisfied from what we saw from him in that series.
I agree, and I think where I gave him grace was, and I don't know where he stood by the end of the Thunder series, but knowing that, Steve Nash said it, Devin Booker was dealing with some health issue. He wasn't himself, and we saw it. Like, he didn't look like himself, and we were trying to put our finger on why he didn't look like himself, and then it's like, oh, well, he's not feeling 100%. And at some point over the course of the series, he might have gotten to that point, but who knows? And that's something that I will give him grace for and credit, because he's never been one to complain, and not everybody complains, but certain guys will point out, hey, I'm not feeling this, I'm not doing that. And what stands out to me was there was one game this year where in the first half we were looking through pictures to use for something, and arms were clean. Second half, he had a Band-Aid right here, so I would assume that he got an IV at halftime of the game. But we never heard about it, never heard that he was dehydrated.
That's a fair assumption.
Never heard that he was sick or anything like that. So I give him some credit for gutting through whatever it was he was gutting through and playing through it and trying to play a certain way. But we needed more. And I think that when I think about who they were playing against and what we see, we just spent the first 10, 15 minutes talking about how inevitable Oklahoma City feels. That's what he had to go against. He had to go against this juggernaut team of defending champions that was solely focused on making him a non-factor or making him work really hard for what he had to go out and get. Not having Mark Williams made it even harder. Not having Grayson Allen for the majority of the series.
Not having Jordan
Goodwin made it more difficult. So all those things were kind of going up against him. And I think the big thing I think about when we look back at this series, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, but what we would have liked to have seen more. I know you talked about a little more assertiveness, a little more aggression, but realistically, what could he have done given everything that he was up against besides just being better?
I think aggressiveness was what everybody kind of wanted from him in terms of the number of shots. But, again, the defense plays a huge part in that. Whether he was sick or not, so be it. I think that was what people were yearning for, was just simply trying to see him take more shots. I mean, I think, Eric, you were even brought that up in some of the post games that we wanted to see more of that. That's the only thing I can think of that he should have done more of that he wasn't doing, and even then, that defense is just extremely tough. So,
I think what he could have done more of is not solely on his shoulders.
That's fair.
So my thing all season was, hey, is anybody going to create some catch and shoots for Devin Booker? Hey, can anybody create a closeout for Devin Booker to attack? And anytime we had a watch-along that I was here for instead of at the arena, every time he was able to be put in one of those situations, made sure to shine some light on that. Hey, Jalen Green drove baseline, rejected the screen, defense had to shift over, and now Devin Booker has a rotating defense to him. Let's make sure we acknowledge that because that's not something we saw a lot of. And we get to the playoffs, wasn't a lot of that. He had to be the domino to get things rolling, to get an opportunity to tug at Oklahoma City's defense just because of the different coverages he was seeing versus everybody else. And that's where the internal development part that I was speaking to is independent of just the rooks. Because if Jalen can start to make better decisions off the attention that he does get when he gets a paint touch, and if Devin's able to get, let's say, 2.5 more catch and shoot or just closeouts to attack on average a game over the course of that series versus OKC, that might be something that shifts even most marginally things over the course of a game to give themselves a chance in clutch, which is what they wanted to do. Navigate those first 37, 38, 40-ish minutes and just give yourself a chance when it comes to winning time and let your best player do what he does. That's how they beat OKC in December, or in January, rather. That was the exact template. Find some pockets to navigate, get it to the clutch. Devin Booker, take us home. And that's exactly what he did in that game.
Jalen Green, 3.5 assists per game to 3.3 turnovers per game. Dillon Brooks, 1.8 assists per game to 1.5 turnovers per game. When you're, top two guys who are going to lead your team in field goals attempted, which those two did by a significant margin. Dillon taking 21 shots a game. Jalen just a shade under 21 at 20.8. The next closest was Book at 15.8, right? But when those two guys aren't playmaking threats and you're going up against, again, this specific OKC team, which probably is the most comfortable in their guard isolation, defense out of maybe anybody in the league, we're just going to let Case and Wallace go one-on-one with Jalen Green. We're going to let Lou Dort just guard, Dillon Brooks one-on-one because we're not worried about them really going and playmaking for others and getting shots, not just for Devin Booker, but for Oso or for Colin or for whoever's out there on the court. That makes it a lot easier to guard a guy like Devin, to get him in spots where he can't find himself open. And even if he did, he wasn't getting the ball in those spots. So that maybe lends itself to talking about these moves that we keep on talking about as who's going to bring gravity and who's able to make out of it. Zion, Ja, Giannis, while they're all completely unlikely to actually happen, they do have something in common. They're all above average or really good playmakers, either at their position or just in the league. Much better playmakers for others than Dillon Brooks or Jalen Green at this point in their respective careers. So you're kind of at this spot where if those two guys aren't going to get better at passing, where is the more Devin Booker off-ball stuff going to come from? Maybe it just comes from not playing OKC, right? This is why you win your play-in game against Portland. And yeah, San Antonio is really good. Their defense is really, really good. Their guard defense is really, really good. I still think that the Suns would have had a better chance in a better series against the Spurs than OKC, despite what we saw in game one. So there's a lot of things that could have gone differently for this team, and I'm not discouraged, even though I would have liked them to win a game, and I'm not discouraged about Devin Booker's performance either. I think that he will get better, and I think the team around him will be better suited for him.
Last book thought, and I appreciate it. At least he went down swinging 22 points in the second half of game 4. He did what he could in that moment. Wish we could have seen that earlier in the series, and maybe it was a little bit easier. Defense was a little lighter. He was feeling a little bit better physically. But regardless what it was, we still saw what he's capable of doing. 22 points and a half against that defense. As a reminder, Devin Booker is pretty good at basketball. We'll go into our final break. We'll talk a little bit about the conference finals game tonight, but we have a game that we'll play ourselves to wrap the show. Mountain America Credit Union is the exclusive home of the Suns card and the official credit union of the Phoenix Suns. Ooh. And one Oso Ighodaro. If you've seen the ads, you know what that's about. But also, it's not just the Phoenix Suns, it's the Phoenix Mercury as well. With My Style, you can get the Suns logo on your credit card or debit card. You get the Mercury logo on your credit card or debit card.
Can't get Oso's face?
I don't know if that's available just yet, but we can probably talk to him about that and maybe make that your style and your individual style as far as that goes. And that is why Mountain America Credit Union has you in mind. No annual fee credit cards are available as low-rate cashback or rewards cards, and Mountain America is here to guide you on your financial journey. Just apply at any Arizona branch. Visit macu.com/Suns to learn more. You too could be like Oso Ighodaro or Espo. Or Eric,
be like Oso.
Be like Oso, or like you. It's insured by NCUA.
That made him giggle.
Mountain America Credit Union, insured by NCUA. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Loans on approved credit.
You got something that'll make you giggle, right?
Oh, no, I don't have anything to laugh about. You made me sad. So when I go home tonight, I'm going to take a pure edible. It's going to make me happy. Because, Gil, when I get bullied, I want to forget about it, right? But here's the thing about pure edibles is that you don't have to forget about what was the effect of this edible. You check the bag, you check a tin, and you're like, a sativa indica hybrid? I don't know how that's going to make me feel. No, it's different with pure edibles. Not only are they a full-fledged candy company covered in sugar like all their competitors, or not covered in sugar like all their competitors, but of course, they're just delicious candies, whether it's Kix, which is their version of Starburst, gummies, hard candies, chews, whatever it is. All the effects are clearly listed on the tin, so you know exactly what to expect, whether it's sleepy, uplifted, relaxed, balanced, whatever it is. Pure gummies are designed to be ripped or bit in half, making them easily shareable. I will not be sharing with Gil, or easy to dial in your exact dose. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products, one of the over 150 dispensaries across Arizona, now including True Leaf.
Back here wrapping up at the PHNX Suns show. We'll talk real quick about what's going on in the Eastern Conference Finals, which get underway today. Eric, after your just prescient.
What was that? Yeah,
you saw the future yesterday. You said Victor Wembanyama was going to have a
yesterday.
moment. I mean, you are in the lead right now, 12-3.
Not just in the lead, but
a commanding lead right now. You have a 2-game advantage in the standings right now, but it's not over. Not over. You read the story about the tortoise and the hare. And tonight, you are the lone person picking the Cavaliers. The rest of us have the Knicks taking care of business in Game 1 at the Garden, Espo's favorite arena.
The dump of all the NBA. Enjoy it.
Eric, did you just decide to be different, or are you just trying to increase his advantage, or do you believe in the Cavs tonight?
At first, I picked the Knicks, and then I really thought about it, and I was like, I think that the Knicks are going to win this series in 5 or 6 games. Like, I do think the Knicks will win. I think they're the better team. They've been playing incredible basketball this postseason. But for some reason, this Cleveland team is just so hard to figure out. And I think them getting through 2 7-game series, going out on a high note against Detroit, completely romping them on the road, packing for Game 1 in New York before going to Game 7 in Detroit, I think that there's a chance that they just roll that momentum against a Knicks team that has been sitting for a little bit of time now. I think the Knicks eventually even out. I wouldn't be shocked if they win today, but I think it gets to a close game, and I think we might have a Donovan Mitchell MSG moment and see what kind of happens there. I'm fascinated by this series, though, and how the bigs match up with each other. Brunson versus Mitchell and Harden, like that's fascinating too. I think the Knicks win the series, but I'm going to take the Cavs to win tonight.
You have no idea what to expect. And I think OG Anunoby being back will be massive for the Knicks, but it should be. It's just going to feel like a big drop-off, unfortunately, from yesterday's game. But still, conference finals, I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, the only thing I'm comfortable with saying will definitely happen is James Dolan spying on people. Other than that, I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen out there, but I will say go New York, go New York, go.
Steven, one thing I'm curious what you think about is the big man matchup, Mobley, Allen, Mitchell Robinson, Cat, all those guys. What you think?
That's strike 2.
If you didn't react to it, I wouldn't keep
That's
doing
strike
it.
2.
I wouldn't keep doing it.
If you had morals,
all
you
it
wouldn't
makes me
keep
think
doing
of
that.
is the Ninja
That's
Turtles.
Disgusting. That's
movie.
absolutely disgusting. What was the question you even asked?
I just said, what do you think about the bigs? You got Mitchell Robinson, Cat, Evan. I don't know why I said Mitchell Robinson first, but Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. They're all big men who are playing in tonight's game. I don't know if
we all think Mitchell Robinson.
The longest
first,
tenured Nick.
The longest tenured Nick.
They have a lot in common. Evan Mobley and Cat have a lot of the same questions about their game in terms of playing with force and having their presence be felt on the game past just the skillful things they bring. Mitchell Robinson and Jared Allen have a lot of the same things said about them as well, as far as being energy bigs and having questions about other areas that they can fill if those skilled guys aren't playing to the physical characteristics that their teams need. So that's a fun matchup in and of itself there, but the attention is on the guards. The attention is all on the 4 guard. Well, I guess 3, because who's really the 2 for the Knicks? That's beauty in the eye of the beholder. But who's along for the ride with Jalen Brunson outside of everything he does scoring-wise? And then obviously with the Cavs and Harden and Mitchell, it's James showing up. That's going to continue to be the thing for them. They made it past the end of the second round regardless of what he was able to contribute, because the sum of their parts, especially the shooters that I talked about, were very good for them. So it's a matter of, I think it's going to be whoever's faction of guards plays better this series probably gets this one.
There you go.
Would you prefer I sing Concrete Jungle next time?
I would just prefer you say Knicks. Knicks is enough.
We're gonna get a Cleveland Rocks out of you before this series. And now you mentioned playing with force. We're about to do our best to play with force. We got a new game. The Freckle Mamba has done it again.
We have been trying to play this game for what, like 2 weeks now? It's been 2 weeks of every single day we've been sitting in our show planning, and today we're going to play the game.
Delayed, not denied. And if for those of you following along, it's any Suns player of all time, and we're going to guess the player based on their career path. So the first round is just the team logos of where they went, and or where they played, and we'll guess, see if we can get it. If we don't get it on our first guess, then they're going to add team logos and then the number of seasons with each team. And if we don't get it, then we just don't know what we're talking about. We'll have one final round. We'll add the years spent with those respective franchises. So if you understand, we all got it. Without further ado.
Actually, question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know we've explained this game behind the scenes about 4,000 times. One, can we close the chat? But two, the logos just need a thumbs up, Freckled Mamba, are in order, right? In order? Okay, cool.
Logos in order.
Do we shout out our name or just shout out the answer?
Are we working together or are we working against each other?
No, against each other. There's no way
we're not keeping score.
Healthy competition.
One guess per round for each of us. We're against each other, but we're also not keeping score because we all just want to make sure that we have fun. And also, I'll yell at all of you.
We're keeping score. Steven's going to want a banner if he wins. So
an emoji trophy.
Do those.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We got the Jazz. Royce O'Neal.
Okay.
All right, I'll take that. Sorry. Are we gonna read off all the names and then go, or are we're just going?
It's fine.
I think we're just going.
So it was Jazz,
Nets, Suns,
and it was Royce O'Neal. All right.
I'll take a point. Thank you very much. Ooh, so Timberwolves, Suns, Hornets, Rockets. Timberwolves, Suns, Hornets.
Josh Okogie.
Ooh.
Ding, 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 ding. Good call.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay,
J.O.
Yeah. Forgot he played in Charlotte, honestly.
The Charlotte was kind of what threw me off.
I was expecting an old timer, so I was like, okay, who?
I mean, you never know what you're gonna get. The Freckled Mamba mixed bag.
How many more we got?
One more.
One more.
One more.
Celtics, OKC, Suns. Celtics, OKC, Suns.
Etwan Moore.
No.
I know.
Does the Thunder also include the Sonics history? Yes. Dennis Johnson.
No.
That was a good pull.
Good guess.
That's a good pull.
I think you reversed the OKC and Suns in that pass.
Boston, OKC, Suns.
Go to the next round, maybe? Let's see, because he did put in work to get the more details.
Hold on.
You only get one guess despite how many hints there are, right? Or do we get one guess per hint? Per hint. Okay.
So Celtics, Thunder, Suns, but could be Sonics.
I think I'm a pass.
I thought I had a name, but the Thunder part, when you factor in the Sonics, makes it a little murky.
Season 2, two seasons. Okay.
So,
a 5-year career.
Abdul Nader.
Oh, I was just about to say Nader.
Let's go.
Abdul Nader.
All right.
The man who showed up randomly in the
finals game?
Yeah,
that was
random.
The worst thing that's ever happened, ever.
Monty's a guy he'd have marry his daughter if Landry Shamet wasn't available. All right.
Fair enough.
Good to see Abdul Nader.
Oh, man. Okay, so Gil has 2 points. I have 1 point.
If we were keeping score.
We weren't keeping score, I thought.
We were keeping. I thought you said we were keeping score.
I mean,
we're not keeping score. We're keeping score if you want to.
Just keep track of your own.
Keep track of
You guys keep track of the score.
That one was fun, but I want some older players next time. I want Eddie Johnson's path that would take up the entire freaking screen.
Isaiah Thomas? His path would take up the entire screen.
It ends up back here.
Yeah.
That's the last NBA team he's played for?
It'd be fun if he just put the Suns.
You count the G League teams too? Like
we can get real
Salt
granular.
Lake Stars and
he just puts a Suns logo and that's it.
Sandman's asking for Otto back. We'll have more.
We'll have Otto.
Of course.
We got time. We'll play more games.
Of
we
course.
promise.
We got a long off season.
We're letting Ayrton spread his wings. He wants to be creative, and we want some creativity.
That's also our fault to not getting to the game earlier. If we got to the game earlier, we probably would have played Otto by now. But we've been kicking this can down the road, so maybe we'll stop kicking cans.
Yeah, I think it was good. Final thoughts here. We talked about the Eastern Conference Finals, talked about the Western Conference Finals, talked about where the Suns are, talked about me getting more points than everybody else in the game.
Congrats. Go Cleveland, go Cleveland, go. That's how I feel tonight.
Steve's about to get up and walk out.
Is there a Chicago song you want me to sing for you?
No.
Sweet Home Chicago. Do you know the words to
Sweet
that?
Home.
I don't need to sing. I don't need to sing
Chicago.
that for what?
For the fake
Saying that
Wemby
for-
trade that was online.
That's where you're from.
Nobody did no winning over there. Those Bulls been.
Oh, I don't
been
care
done.
about the teams. I just meant to
Oh.
make you feel at home.
Oh, I'm good.
All
I'm
right,
good. As
all
long
right,
as
good.
basketball's
All
happening,
right.
I'm chilling.
No.
How about this
As long as
one for
nobody's
you?
singing
Mighty Mercury.
that song, if you have to choose a
All right.
song, that song is
go.
significantly better.
Yeah, I do need to learn the words to that and maybe learn the dance while I'm at it. Steve, you're going to be at the game tonight. Another big one for the Merc. So if you're not following
Yeah.
Steven already for Suns and Merc stuff, follow him at Steven PG3.
We need to get Cheryl Miller in here and teach you how to do the dance.
Natasha Mack will be perfectly fine teaching you that.
Yeah,
I would say
that's a couple great options right there. Both.
Yeah.
I'm a trucker. I back Natasha Mack. I'm all in.
Hey.
Let's go.
So as I said, if you want some Merc and Suns coverage, follow Steven at Steven PG3. Follow the Freckle Mamba at the Freckle Mamba. Follow Espo at Espo. Pretty straightforward. Follow me at Gil McGregor _. Follow Eric at ERIKRUBY. Follow the show at PHNX _ Suns. Appreciate you all hanging out with us for the past hour. We will be back here same time, same place tomorrow. And make sure you leave a like and subscribe on the way out. See ya.
Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.